1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 copywriting tips for beginners. If you've seen one of my posts on social media, if you have seen my emails or you've seen one of my videos, we reach about 50 million people on a regular basis every single month. When I say reach, I don't mean impressions. When there's a view on a video, when there's a view on one of my posts on Facebook, on Instagram, that's considered one reach. So we have millions and millions of people engage with my content every single month. And one of the best compliments that you could get from your audience or from your readers is how clear, how easy, and how effortless your writing is. You see, making something look effortless actually requires tremendous effort. Think about an Apple product, basically a supercomputer, yet it doesn't require a 300-page menu for you to understand. It is very, very intuitive, very clear, very easy to understand, very easy to use. But behind the scenes, the Apple team put in tremendous amount of effort in order to make that happen. See, part of my growth on social media, why we're growing so rapidly, is because we make our content, if you watch my video, you will know, very easy to understand, very effortless to consume. You can watch sound bites, you can watch a short video, and you would get it very, very quickly. Just like when you go to a theater and you watch a 2-hour movie, well, you know that's probably a 6 months, a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years in production in order to create a product, a movie for you to consume for just 2 hours. And this is exactly why copywriters get paid the big bucks, because we are able to take complex ideas and distill to a very simple, sometimes one single idea that millions and millions of people could understand and get. And that's not easy to do. There's genius in simplicity. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner copywriter or you're a seasonal copywriter. Today I'm going to teach you 7 copywriting tips that will improve your copywriting skill. Copywriting tip number 1, write your outline first. Just like you're writing a book. Imagine you're writing a book. You're not just going to dive right in and start writing all the words and all the chapters. What's the first thing you should do? You should write your table of content. Well, it's the same way when it comes to copy. You should write your outline first. Let's say you're going to write a simple landing page. Maybe you write the headline. You'll write a few bullet points. This is the chunk. And you write who is the presenter of this webinar. Or you're writing a longer sales page. You have your headline, you have your opening, you have your story, you have your benefits, you have your guarantee, and then you have your call to action. You want to write your outline first. That's the big pieces, the big chunks, so that when you go into it, you already know this is your blueprint. This is your roadmap that you're going to follow. Copywriting tip number 2, write your sub-headlines first before you write your body copy. So now you have your draft, your outline. Then what you want to do is write your headline, your sub-headline, meaning the different chunks that is going to hook people in and keep them reading. Write those headlines first before you write your body copy, before you fill in the blanks. The reason for that is this. When you have your outline, when you have all the sub-headlines, you will see the flow of your copy. Does that make sense? Does it flow? Then before you even spend time writing all the body copy, you'll be able to take, you know what, this chunk that I thought that kind of makes sense to me before now no longer makes sense. Let me take that out. Or maybe you see the story in this part, yeah, it's good, but I think it works even better when I put it here. So you kind of move it around. Again, it's designed to save you time. Worst thing you want to do is spending hours and days writing all the body copy, and then at the end, when you read it, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to use this whole chunk. Then you waste a whole bunch of time. So outline and then sub-headline before body copy. Copywriting tip number 3, write your first draft as quickly as possible without worrying being perfect. Because I know you sometimes as a copywriter, you want to make it all perfect day one. Don't do that. Write as fast as you could. Don't filter. Don't try to edit. Don't do any of that. Let your creativity, let it flow, right? Just write as fast as you could, type as fast as you could. You can always go back and edit later. This is not the time to do it yet. So when you write as fast as you could, get done your first draft. Do not edit, just go. Copywriting tip number 4, let your work breathe. Now what I like to do is after I finish writing a piece of copy, I would kind of walk away, kind of give it some room between the work and myself, maybe for a few days. Just don't even think about it, don't even look at it, right? Kind of like a red wine. You know how we open a new bottle of red wine? You gotta let the wine breathe a little bit. Same thing with writing. You gotta give yourself some space and then you can come back to it. Sometimes it could be even, if there's no deadline, a week and a half later, you look at it again and you see things that you didn't see a few weeks ago. Copywriting tip number 5, eliminate fluffy words. Now you could go back and edit your work and see what are some of the words, fluffy words that you could eliminate. Why do I need so many words to explain a simple idea? Can you make the paragraph shorter? Can you eliminate certain things? Do you use words that are complicated, that most people do not understand, that they need a dictionary to understand what that word is? You want to make it effortless to read your sales copy. So eliminate those words. Can you condense certain ideas into one single idea? Or maybe sometimes one mistake that I see a lot is the copywriter trying to put 2, 3, 4 ideas into one paragraph. Don't do that. Each paragraph, I believe, should contain one main idea. Now, sometimes the only exception is for the subheadline, you might have 2 or 3 key ideas in a subheadline, meaning that you're stacking on, let's say, a benefit A, B, C in one subheadline, that's okay. But for body copy, I like to have just one single idea per paragraph. Copywriting tip number 6, shorten your paragraph. You can do a quick test with this. You see why newspapers, you will see the columns are very, very narrow. You're reading the newspapers, right? It's like this, right? It's like that. So imagine reading a newspaper, and the newspaper, they remove all those columns, and they have one long paragraph across the paper, like that. You see how much more effort it would take you to read from here to here? And that newspaper will lose a lot of readerships because as a human being, we are not designed, our eyes, our brain, we're not designed to consume information that way. It's a little bit narrower, do it like that. So what it also means when you're writing copy, you want to take, if you have a big chunk of copy, a lot of words, like it's like a 10-line paragraph, break into smaller paragraphs. Sometimes 2 or 3 lines per paragraph. Sometimes I have 1-line paragraph. It's much easier, especially on internet, for people to read like that. Don't make it too wide. Sometimes depends on the web page. You can narrow it down a bit and then give it some white space. It's easy to read. Do that for your copy as well. Copywriting tip number 7, and that is reading your copy out loud. Once you finish that copy, read it out loud, or better yet, sometimes get a friend to read it out loud to you. And you listen, you pay attention. Do you spot a certain part that doesn't flow? Or that sounds very repetitive, or that part doesn't even make sense, it's very confusing, or oh, this part is very good, I should expand on it. That is a very simple exercise that I've done over the years. I teach all my students to do. It's a very, very powerful thing. If it doesn't read right, it doesn't sound right, it's not gonna work. If you read it out loud and it's very, very smooth and it sounds right, by the time your reader is reading that on a web page, it will make a lot of sense. I believe the key to great writing is rewriting. If you give yourself some space between you and your work, you go back and you rewrite it, you will make it better. Anything that you have, maybe a headline that you have, you think this headline is as good as it could get. I promise you, give yourself some time and you're gonna rewrite it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, that headline would become better. I promise you. You get more variations, you come up with different angles. Why? Because the key to great writing is rewriting. We have an unlimited amount of creativity that you could always make your work better. Now, assuming you have the copywriting skill, you know how to write copy, how do you actually make money with this skill? How do you turn it into an income stream? How do you charge clients? What kind of clients you should get? How do you get those high-paying clients, right? Once you have the copywriting skill, the question is, how do you make money with this skill? How do you earn a full-time living as a copywriter? I'm not talking about a couple $100 here and there. I'm talking about earning thousands of dollars, even tens of thousands of dollars as a copywriter. How do you do that? How do you find those high-paying clients? And how do you charge for your services? What are the best ways to do those? And how do you get those clients without spamming people, without going to these like freelance websites? How do you do that? Click link below and find out how.